human calamity that we're seeing right now?
During 2016, we did a series of videos on the Clinton campaign that imagined what life under a Trump administration would be like to try to scare people. And if someone had come to me with the plot line that we are living through today, I would have rejected it as being too ludicrous. That you would have a president who, in the middle, that there would be a pandemic, but the pandemic would partly be in response to the incompetence of the Trump administration. And all along the way, him using what seems to be foremost in his mind is not combating the virus, but what's foremost in his mind is how can he use the virus to do the plays he always does to energize his base, blame somebody else, find some other enemy, today it's blaming the World Health Organization for not getting behind, for not calling this pandemic soon enough. But what can he do to rally his base and more support in that, and help his friends? Firing of the IG that is supposed to overlook the spending of the money from the relief package passed by Congress. What's that going to be about? Presumably that's going to be about giving money, a lot of money away to people who may benefit him politically. But you look at what happened in Wisconsin, a very partisan outcome there where the Democratic governor tried to stop the election and it went forward after a partisan decision from a court ruling. People are risking their lives in order to vote. I think that's where we've kind of waited for the bottom. Democrats like me, when the bottom, we're going to hit rock bottom, the Trump administration, it feels like this has got to be it.
Oh, never say that. John Heilemann, let me ask you. I started this program like 3 years ago saying the bottom's calling and wants to know if we're there yet. And I never asked again as I covered it day after day. John Heilemann, I want to ask you a question, though, and I want to do this precisely and carefully. Coronavirus is not Donald Trump's fault, but everything that he has directed in terms of a response that was not quick, that was not honest, and that in its early phases was not motivated by protecting the public, but seemed to, he said in these briefings, I was acting as a cheerleader. He said a few days ago, I was hoping for the best, but I knew how bad it was. He's now on tape admitting that he wasn't telling the truth at the beginning of this pandemic.
Right. Well, yes, I think, Nicole, we've looked back, everyone has done, the reporting is now very compelling about what was going on internally in the White House and around Donald Trump in January and February. We know what he said publicly. We have done video on it at the recount. The Biden campaign has done it. The Priorities USA has made ads about it. We're going to see that video forever. All the way through till November of what Donald Trump was saying publicly at that time. And the reality is that in that period, in that lost 2 months, really, in January and February, the response, what Donald Trump did, and he directed his government to do in that period, was woefully inadequate to the task of getting ready for this virus, which was about to hit the country, that he knew was about to hit the country, that he was being told by people around him was about to hit the country. The consequences were laid out for him vividly by people like Peter Navarro and others. And yet the reaction was incompetent and inadequate. And I don't think it's actually an overstatement to say that Donald Trump there are tens of thousands of people who will die in the country, or some of them have already died. More are still going to die because of Donald Trump's incompetence and lack of leadership. And he will try to argue his way out of that. And there are, as I said a second ago, he has some advantages in the sense that he still has the loyalty of his base and he has the podium. And he will be at the center of this story going forward. And Joe Biden has a challenge in the sense that he's not a governor. He holds no office. He has no official platform other than a political one now as the presumptive Democratic nominee. It's hard for him to be part of this story in the way that Donald Trump or Andrew Cuomo or Gavin Newsom are. And how the challenge for the Biden campaign now is to prosecute this case against Donald Trump over these coming months. He still has to unify the party behind him. He still has all this work to do that is much harder to do given the constraints of COVID-19. So we are going to have a close election, and we understand what the contours of it are now. It seems to be inevitable what this debate is going to be about and what the case is that Biden has to make. But it is not a foregone conclusion that Donald Trump will lose. And I think everyone should not look at this and assume somehow that because this disaster is evident and the blame that he deserves is also clear, that necessarily means, even though it will be a referendum on him, that this election is somehow in the bag for Democrats. I think that would be a foolish position to take and one that would cost the Democrats dearly if they believe it.
And I don't think you'll find any Democrat who takes anything for granted. I think the polls show the head-to-heads